Yeah, I'm going to be honest. We've been losing money through that lockdown. It was bloody hard, so hard. Um, and yeah, with the other restaurant overseas in Bali, just sitting there, it's mentally it gets on top of you.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. When the pandemic landed, many Australians were forced to leave the countries that they were in and head home indefinitely to Australia. Some were on holiday, others were building new lives, others were opening new businesses. Australian restaurateurs and chefs are in high demand all over the world, and many operators have taken opportunities to open venues abroad. What has happened to those venues without international travel? Greg Feck is the chef and owner of Vaporetto and Squid Inc. Greg, how you going?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Huck. Yeah, geez, God, it's been a crazy sort of bloody half a year, hasn't it? Just for everybody, I guess.
It's been a hell of a time.
Yeah.
And you were actually forced to come back to Australia from Bali. You're in the middle of building a restaurant there when COVID landed. Can you take us back to that time?
Yeah, look, God, I've been in Bali for like over a year, loving it, just loving it, and just we wanted the opportunity to do something else. From what I've been doing at Vaporetto and Eatery in Hawthorn, sort of wanted to take that concept and sort of adapt it a little bit. And because of the whole spice route trail, the whole building of Venice back in the 1500s and stuff, and the currency being like salt and spices and herbs all from the east and North Africa and all of that, I sort of, Bali is somewhere that I've sort of always been sort of going on holidays, and I could see, all the exotic herbs and spices and all of that they use, and I guess I just wanted to have a little bit of a change, a bit of a lifestyle change, and still continue my cooking career, which is, I think, it's just been amazing what I've achieved. And so Bali was it, and I sort of wanted to we sort of made up this word in terms of the direction of Squid Inc, which is spelled with a C instead of a K, but we called it Balinesian, so we're taking that Venetian style of cooking that I'm doing in Hawthorn and adapting it to the Balinese sort of indigenous herbs and all of that sort of stuff, and still, so it's sort of aligned with what I wanted to do: lifestyle cooking, beautiful beaches, the food over there is fantastic, the dining scene's absolutely amazing. So we found this little site on Batu Belong, which is one of the most popular streets in Canggu. It's on a two-level story, and it overlooks the whole junction. There's basically, if you want to come from Seminyak, you come out right in front of my restaurant, and if you want to come from other places on the island, you got to go past my restaurant. So I thought, well, if everybody wants to come to Canggu, they got to see Squid Ink first. So the site's absolutely to die for. Yeah, so we're ripping into it. I mean, God, we had builders in there. I just had all the bonquettes put in, all this polished concrete. Kim and I, we got all of our tiles for the splashback of the kitchen, all Balinese handmade tiles. Kitchen equipment was on point. Everything was ready to go. And then with what was happening, and we thought, shit, it's just getting a bit dire, I guess. And the restaurant back in Hawthorn, back in Melbourne, we thought the best thing to do would be to come back home, support all our team and my business partner Dave Wickwar as well, because they'd been doing it for a year without us, even though we do have management meetings every week. And I used to come back for 4 weeks. I used to spend 2 weeks in Bali, 1 month in Melbourne, just for visa options and stuff like that. So, but now that I've got Kitas, I can come and go as I please at the moment. But the best thing to do was to come back, support all the boys in the kitchen, all the guys on the floor, and really just work out what we're doing, and get and change the direction of what we were doing to achieve what we wanted to do, to be obviously kind of financially successful when we turned that business around on its head to do takeaway delivery.
So what's the state of the restaurant in Bali at the moment? You haven't opened it yet. What's the situation?
No. Oh, it's sad. It makes me so sad. But the situation is we're basically just closed the doors on it. It's three-quarters built.
Wow.
All the tiles are ordered, all the equipment's ordered. We were down to we'd ordered all our chairs. All the chairs were getting hand built. All the tables were getting built. Um, all the furniture, everything like that's been paid for, and it's sitting on hold basically, and the gates have just been shut on it. And that's it. Yeah, and we're still paying rent on it,
Oh, wow.
which is another thing which has been quite tough. But look, our landlord's been quite fair to us, I should say. And I think our landlord in Melbourne has also been quite fair to us as well. I think everybody has been hurting in one way, shape, or form, and everybody's sort of got together, I think, especially in the community of Hawthorn, and has really helped each other out, which I think has been absolutely superb.
How are you feeling about the site in Bali at the moment, given the fact that we can't travel abroad and COVID cases growing everywhere on the planet? What's the sense there? And you're still paying rent.
Yeah, look, I think my main goal at the moment is to keep Vaporetto on the edge, like just firing it as well as what it is, and it's doing extremely well. To get all my staff settled again, and look, I'm thinking probably I'll go back in about January, maybe early January. Um, because our daughter Maddie, she's 15, and she was in college over there, in an Australian independent school for a year. So she's come back and she's really itching to get back. So her school sort of starts towards the end of January. So yeah, my thought is to go back, get the place finished, get it open, get the core staff involved. Like of my head chef for Squid Inc, Daniele Perez, he's actually Venetian. He's from Venice. His visa sort of status, he had to leave Vaporetto and go back to Italy. So he's back in Venice at the moment. And he's just waiting. Like he's just basically just abiding time back home and stuff like that, which is not a bad place to be, when you're waiting around to come back to Bali, I guess. Venice is absolutely beautiful. He's with his family, and I said you just got to enjoy the time back in Venice, and because when you do come to Bali, we're going to be working hard, mate. It's a new business, and that's what we're going to do. So enjoy your time and relax a little bit. But yeah, we'll probably get him over in January. I think we are going to open it. We're going to finish it. I think even if the borders aren't quite open, at least we can open and get some sort of cash flow through with expats that are still there, and just fine tune a lot of the systems and the kitchen and get good staff. And so by the time it does reopen, fingers crossed, we'll be set and raring to go. We'll be ready for the onslaught. Put it that way. I think it would be perfect timing, actually. Yeah.
What's it been like in Melbourne the last couple of weeks? You were in a pretty intense second lockdown, and now you're open up again. But how does it feel in Melbourne?
Oh, look, I think the feeling at the moment is absolutely amazing. I think, one thing that is good is the weather's really good, and that sort of tends to make a lot of people a little bit more off edge, I guess. But with the community of Hawthorn, I mean, this bloody story we've got. So basically, the situation of Vaporetto, it's built under the Lido Cinema on Glenferrie Road, and there's a lot of car parking up the back. But with the council giving all the car parks on Glenferrie Road to all the places out there, we sort of got jibbed a little bit, because all those car parks that got taken up for outdoor dining, all the cars then had to park behind us, which took up all our spaces that we wanted. So the council were trying to do as much as they could, and they've been very good. Um, but it was Kim, like my partner Kim. She sent out this mail out and was sort of to our database, our personal database for Vaporetto, and was like, if anybody knows anybody at ANZ, on Glenferrie Road, I'd love to hear from them, because they've got this big empty car space right opposite Vaporetto, and basically the CEO of ANZ was inundated with phone calls from our database, all our loyal customers.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was absolutely blown away. we were trying to get our landlord to get in touch with him, but I think there was some sort of communication breakdown somewhere along the line. So we just went straight to the mail out, and we got chatting with the CEO, and he what an absolute what a dude, like absolute top guy. So within 2 or 3 days, we had a commercial lease signed for 5 months. They gave us 5 months, and to make that sort of that contract like proper proper binding, they had to charge us something. We're like, well, how much do you want to charge us a month in rent? And he's like, well, I don't want to charge you anything. So, but we have to charge you something. So, how does a dollar sound for each month of your lease? And we're like, $5. God, you guys are amazing. And we were like, why don't you bring your wife and family into Vaporetto? Like, we'll do something for contract. Like, no, it's not about that. It's all about community. And we know that you're a phenomenal restaurant and you've got a huge loyal following in the community. And I mean, it's something that we can do for you guys. So, yeah, within 2 or 3 days, we had a marquee signed up, which was delivered. A bloody big one, 21 meters long by 7 meters wide. Um, we had the lovely lady that owns like the Prosecco van, so we teamed up with our boys from Tap Wines that do spritz and baraka, like our Venetian beer on tap, and we had a little spritz van out in the garden, and we had our spritz hooked up, and we were trading basically just like that. It was
Amazing.
absolutely phenomenal. Everybody got behind it, and we're trading now, and we're trading very well. Yeah.
There's still pretty heavy restrictions in Melbourne. What sort of incarnation of the restaurant is it at the moment? Is it the full offering that you normally do on the menu? Can you take us through that?
Yeah, no, the menu I've slightly reduced. What we're doing is we've got 70 outside, and I think by law we can do 40 in, but we're being patient. We went from like doing 50, and then we're slowly easing into it. We're not actually doing 70, but if we turn over a few tables from 50 within our first couple of sittings and stuff, we will. So we're doing, every day that we're open, we're doing up to 140. So we are using the full 70. We're doing 2 sittings, and we're quite happy with that. Like inside, we're only doing about 20. And that's just for really people just waiting for their table, maybe just get a little bit of chickadee, a few little snacks and stuff like that. But yeah, we're not going to go out and try and like my kitchen's it's a great kitchen, but to deal with that sort of volume at the style of food that we do, we just want to keep it really nice, do it well, and take it from there, I guess. But yeah, the menu is slightly has gone a little bit smaller. And we've gone to a prefix menu, which is 3 courses, $85, which is a very good offering. You get a 3 glass of prosecco on arrival, whatever you want, beer, and yeah. In terms of what we've been doing, our spend per head, I guess, has gone up a little bit from what we were doing a la carte dining pre-COVID, but I think people are just really pleased to get out and get back into Vaporetto and support us, and the support has been overwhelming. I guess the customers are just loving it. Now, feedback's been great, and I guess for my chefs and myself and for the front of house, carrying food that's been plated up on a plate is a massive change than what it has been like putting it into a plastic container and packing it in a brown bag. So we're all pretty happy across the board. Yeah, it's really good.
You've been involved with many successful restaurants in Melbourne. How did you get a start in the industry?
From a young age, I guess, like everybody says, if they have a grandmother that's been in the industry and stuff like that. But yeah, I was a bit the same. My grandmother, she owned her own patisserie, and my mother, when she was a young girl, when she was back there, 15, 16, used to work in it as well. So I had a sort of a massive. I sort of tended to lean towards the savoury side of things, and you know, um, but yeah, like I was one of those odd kids at school that never really went out with my mates on weekends. I was working a bakery on weekends, from like 9 till 4, and then I'd go down and wash dishes in another restaurant from like 5 to 11 o'clock at night. Um, and that's where it sort of started. I started off with a woman called Justine Hudson, who's since passed away like a couple of years ago from cancer. She was battling cancer for freaking like 25 years. But I was in about 5 different restaurants with her, right through from like 14 years of age right through to about 18, 19. And she was inspirational, and I just knew I wanted to do it. Just always knew that I wanted to be a chef. Yeah, just had that feeling, and it just happened.
You've had a couple of venues in Melbourne. Can you take us through what it was like running those different venues? And you've done those with your partner Kim, who's also very influential on Melbourne's dining scene. Take us through what it's been like working in those venues together and some of the things that you created.
Oh, um, God, Huck, I reckon I've been blessed in having one of the best careers. I reckon, like, even leaving New Zealand, at the age of 22 and going on to London and having the opportunity to work with people like Jamie Oliver and Ben O'Donoghue and Peter Gordon and some of these guys that have just been absolutely phenomenal and very inspirational on my cooking career for sure. But since returning from London, you know, having the opportunity to work for Stephanie Alexander at Richmond Hill Cafe and Larder, back in 2005, that's where I sort of started really getting my teeth into the philosophy of, you know, really respecting producers and not really doing too much with the food, and just letting it speak for itself, sort of thing. And then, going from there, I had the best 7 years at Richmond Hill Cafe and Larder. Absolutely amazing. What an institution, something that you'd always hear about. And what had been achieved there by Stephanie, and you just, one of those places that you walked in, you could just feel it. You could just feel the energy and the history, and that's where I met Kim. Like, oh God, when I was employed, I didn't really know, but like she was buying it off Stephanie,
That's
which
right.
didn't really affect me. I was like, these guys are a dynamic sort of trio as business partners, and gave it a shot, and then I've never looked back. So yeah, on from there, like from Richmond Hill, I went on to owning Sapore, which was a brilliant little Italian trattoria down on Fitzroy Street in St Kilda. So I was basically working in both at the same time. I'd do the day shift at Richmond Hill, and then get in my car and shoot down to St Kilda and jump on the pass by 5:30, 6 o'clock, and do that. I'd done that for like, God, a couple of years or so, but um, and just had the most amazing teams. Like, took another Kiwi guy, Jeff Simpson from Richmond Hill, put him down into Sapore, and then along came Simon Moss, another Kiwi, and then I don't know why we always just attract Kiwis, but it wasn't planned. It just sort of worked out that way, and then we had 2 phenomenal teams, one at Richmond, one at Sapore, and then just worked that, yeah, and we achieved one hat status at Sapore. Back then, when we got it, it sort of turned. It went from a really beautiful little Italian restaurant. It got quite hard, I guess. I know people's demands when they dine out in these certain restaurants. Their expectations get a little bit higher, I guess. And I loved it, and then it's kind of not a me. I'm not really after that. I just want to work hard. I want to work with good staff. I want to have fun, and achieve things in other ways of achieving things in this industry. So both those restaurants I sold together in 2010. Um, and then Kim and I opened up Food and Travel Co., which was just a small company that we were doing. We were employed by a little dynamic sort of duo, small boutique travel agent called 50 Degrees North, which is a Scandinavian. And then Kim and I, for a year, were taking food tours, taking like 12 people from Australia over to Scandinavia and going through like Finland and the Faroe Islands and Iceland and Denmark and Stockholm and Finland, and basically ending the tour with dining at Noma, which Rene was really really lucky enough to. The only room that we could do it in was in a staff room, which sat up to like 14 people. So
Wow.
for that night to close our tour on, all the staff were kicked out of the staff room at Noma, and we got to sit on this beautiful long table and have dinner, and it was absolutely amazing. Getting to go on the boat that's in the harbour there, which is a little test kitchen where he does a lot of, finding out a lot of different things about different seaweeds and all that stuff he does for Scandinavia, which is absolutely phenomenal. So that was pretty fun. That was fun. And then, God, then I opened up Crabapple Kitchen, which is on Glenferrie Road in Hawthorn. And I think the success of Vaporetto has been because I've been in that area, with Crabapple for 6 years. I think they've got to trust what I do with my food, and they trust what Kim does in the dining room as well. Um, and that was just a great daytime cafe. I think we opened it at the right time where we were sort of a little bit cutting edge, and now Melbourne's just gone gangbusters with cafes, and the whole coffee scene in Melbourne's it's just next level. It's just gone beyond like what we used to do at Crabapple, the old flat white and all of that sort of stuff. It's just another kettle of fish, isn't it? Coffee's just God, yeah. But Melbourne do love their coffee. I've got to say that. Jesus.
You mentioned dealing with ANZ and the drive for them to use the space, for you to use the space, was all about community and connection. What's it been like, this period of time of reopening that sense of community?
Oh, look, it's been mind blowing. It's been eye opening that what's been going on is just phenomenal. And I'm hoping it's happening through other suburbs and that of Melbourne as well, which I'm pretty sure it has. Um, but yeah, that real sense of support, and just helping one another out. I think Vaporetto has definitely felt that from a lot of people, in terms of supplies as well. But ANZ, literally not even sort of just giving us that site right next door. And all we need to do really was just take a little bit of our fence out, and then that was our walkway straight into the what we call the piazza now, which is a beautiful marquee with a beautiful garden, and it's got our little spritz van out there, and we can the dining room's nice and lush. Um, it's what they do with these marquees these days is absolutely freaking phenomenal. Like the flooring, it looks like a wooden flooring, and the furniture we've got in there is really nice. And the local florist brings down these massive table settings of flowers, and it's good, being this whole 2 meter distance apart from one another and stuff in the dining room. It actually gives it a feeling of just grand. It's nice. The tables are a lot bigger. The tables are four, and pre-COVID in Vaporetto, I mean, we used to cram them in. Like we used to do 250 covers on a Friday, Saturday night, and we used to bloody turn those tables over so quick. But now it's actually nice for us as chefs to get that little bit of extra time, to do what we do, and you go out into the dining room, and the feeling out there is just absolutely amazing. It's just, and everybody's enjoying the food. It's a little bit slower in pace, not too much, but enough that gives the kitchen a little bit of breather. Um, but yeah, my boys in the kitchen are absolutely phenomenal. Like my head chef Sonny, he's been with me for 8 years. I've got boys in there, Lyndon, who've been with me since first day of Crabapple Kitchen, which is longer. I've still got boys coming that were with me from Richmond Hill Cafe and Larder. We're talking like 15 years ago, sort of thing. That still come on board and still do a couple of little cameo appearances, and yeah. So the camaraderie in the kitchen is the family vibe that we have with our staff is absolutely phenomenal. It's yeah, like I've owned a lot of restaurants in Melbourne, but this one is just special. Yeah, it feels very, very special. Yeah.
You're on the other side of the lockdown, a pretty intense lockdown at the moment. And
Yeah.
today, South Australia has announced that they've gone into a pretty intense lockdown. What sort of advice do you have for operators and people in South Australia, given what you've been through?
Oh, look. What I've found is when we were doing it, like we're we were looking at what other people were doing, but we've always felt that we were innovators in what we wanted to do within ourselves with the business, and we looked at doing a lot of pre-packaged stuff for like maybe supermarkets and stuff like that. We opted not to do it. We opted to just concentrate. I find if you try and do too much, I think the direction of the business gets quite clouded. So we just opted to concentrate on doing takeaway delivery very well. We opted not to do like like some platforms like Providor, where you do pre-packaged meals that people with instructions finish it off at home. And don't get me wrong, I think it's absolutely phenomenal what Shane Dealey has created and a lot of these restaurants are doing, because I've bought that and I've done it at home myself, and I think it's amazing. But what Vaporetto done was we kept all of our chefs. The decision financially probably wasn't the best, but we wanted to keep all our staff employed. And we cooked everything a la menu. We cooked everything to order, to the second. We had all our staff. We only had one platform, which was Uber Eats, which we didn't really use that much, because we was always conscious about the person that was delivering our meal, and that was the face of our business. So all our staff became drivers, and before you know it, we had all our staff were back, even our international boys, and which was very hard on them. And we could only give them the hours that we could, by law and stuff. But at least they were getting something, and we were striving, and we were busy. We were busy, and that's what we decided to do, was to cook hot food and to get it delivered within 5 kilometre radius as quick as possible, and that worked for us. But I guess what I'm trying to say is what we done is don't try and do too much. Concentrate on something and do it really well. I think that's my advice, I guess, with a lot of things that we do. I mean, we're doing picnic baskets at the moment. We used to do barbecues on Sundays and stuff like that, but it got to a point where when we did reopen, we didn't really have to do that, but we still wanted to kind of support the people that have supported us through this hardship time with takeaway delivery. We still wanted to keep that delivery option open, which we have, even though we're doing prefix menus, we're still doing delivery. And it bloody gets hard on a Friday, Saturday night when you suddenly get a $200 food order come through right in the mix of trying to plate up 4 or 5 tables at the same time. I mean, there's a few grim sort of expressions from the boys, to the front house, but you got to support those people that are still not too comfortable about coming out, and they still want to have your food. So you still have to have that option for them. Yeah. Oh, it gets tricky. Bloody hell, it gets tricky. But yeah, we're doing it, and we're doing it with a smile on our face, and I guess we're just happy being back. Yeah.
You've had the financial strain of having a venue that you haven't opened yet overseas and still paying rent on that, and keeping all of your team together and looking after their wages in a year that the restaurant hasn't been open a lot. How have you felt personally during this time? What sort of impact has it had on you?
Oh, look, I think it's been hard. Look, let's cut to the chase. It's hard, and I reckon I'd be talking on behalf of a lot of business owners, especially in this industry. Um, Restaurants 10, 15, 20 years ago, like it was an easy thing, But now how the times have changed, like in terms of like cost of goods for a kitchen, like prices on menus over the time hasn't really changed. It's changed a bit, but the price of produce and stuff's gone up. So, margins have become tighter, Um, chefs have become harder to source, Bloody scarce as hen's teeth, bloody good chefs out there. Because there's a lot going on, So yeah, it's been difficult, but in terms, I think we've done it easier than what a lot of other people have done. Look, I don't know what other people have done, but in my mind, when I see my financial cost control and stuff like that with the business, yeah, I'm going to be honest. We've been losing money through that lockdown. It was bloody hard, so hard. Um, yeah, with the other restaurant overseas in Bali, just sitting there, it's mentally it gets on top of you. Do you know what I mean? I guess the financial thing is one thing, but the mental pressure of thinking about your staff and how many hours they're working a week and whether they can survive. And I've always been somebody that's always put other people before myself. It's even when I wrote rosters for my kitchen, and I always just give my boys the days off that they wanted, to spend time with their families and their girlfriends, and I was always last. But that worked for me as well. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I've always said, the fish rots from the head. You got to lead by example. And I think with Vaporetto, like with Kim, myself, and Dave, we work in the business. We don't work. Kim works a lot on the business in terms of strategies and financial control and marketing and all of that. But Dave's in the front. I'm in the kitchen. We do it together. And I think that's where we get a lot of success with our staff. They look at us as mentors. We're in doing the dirty work with them, and that's a great success. But yeah, financially it's been Huck, it's been tough. But now that we've reopened, we can slowly see things are shifting and shifting very quick. So I guess we're quite happy about that. We've still got to watch what we do and what we spend, and as it always bloody happens, the moment you're about to open up, every fridge, freezer in the whole building bloody goes down, and just those things you got to deal with. It just seems to happen right at the right time for the equipment, but you just push on, you get the job done. And yeah, well, I'm just looking forward to the next whatever Dan Andrews gives us for the next little ray of sunshine, I guess, and the hope that we have, and hopefully not too much longer. I'm not too sure, but hopefully by April, May next year, we'll be flying.
Well, the weather is warming up at the moment, and summer's approaching. What are your hopes for summer in Melbourne?
Oh, look, I think it's going to be huge. I think everybody's going to get out and about. They'll support their local restaurant. They'll do as much as they can. And let's face it, like dining outdoors is bloody nice. Especially when you're getting nice weather and stuff like that. And so I think the general vibe and consensus in Melbourne, I think everybody loves Melbourne. They love the dining scene. People just want Melbourne back, and it's happening slowly but surely. But I think the vibe in Melbourne's going to be huge this summer. I can already see it. There's a lot of things going on, around the city, and and it's just a really good energy. It's a really good energy. It's been a long lockdown, that's for sure.
Well, Greg, it's so amazing circumstances that you find yourself in, but your energy and passion is bloody inspiring. We've loved having you on Deep in the Weeds today.
Yeah, thank you.
Please keep in touch, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Huck.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.